Your situation does not control your life. Your response to that situation does. Train your mind to win in every situation is not about pretending that life will always go your way. It is about building the mental strength to stay clear, steady, and useful when life becomes difficult. Think about your hardest days, a stressful morning, a painful conversation, a difficult decision, a sudden problem at work, a goal that is taking longer than expected. In those moments, your first reaction can change what happens next. So ask yourself honestly, can you control yourself before you react? Can you make a strong decision while people around you are under pressure? Can you keep working when your motivation disappears? Can you face fear without allowing it to choose your actions? This audiobook will help you develop those abilities through practical lessons you can use every day. You will learn how to think clearly when things go wrong, stay focused during difficult periods, learn from bad days, trust your judgment, handle unexpected problems, and strengthen yourself through daily practice. Do not listen only for motivation. Listen to learn how to respond differently when life tests you. Because a stronger mind creates better choices, and better choices create a better life. Chapter 1. Learn to think clearly when things go wrong. Your ability to think clearly during difficult moments determines the quality of many decisions in your life. A calm mind can see facts that an upset mind often misses. Learning to stay clear under pressure gives you more control over your actions and helps you handle problems without making them worse. Most people do not struggle because every problem is too difficult. They struggle because strong emotions arrive before clear thinking. A sudden loss can bring fear. A harsh comment can bring anger. A mistake can bring embarrassment. A financial problem can create panic. In those moments, the mind quickly tries to protect itself. It starts predicting bad results, blaming people, or searching for an immediate escape. This reaction feels natural, but it does not always produce a useful decision. There is an important skill that many people never deliberately practice. It is the ability to separate what happened from what you feel about what happened. This small separation can change your response. A fact might be that your plan failed. Your feeling might be disappointment. Your interpretation might be that you are not capable. Those three things are not the same. A clear mind keeps them separate, so you can deal with the actual problem instead of fighting against your own thoughts. Take a simple example. You send an important message and receive no response for several hours. The fact is simple. There has been no reply. Your mind may add several stories to that fact. You may decide that the person is angry with you. You may believe you did something wrong. You may start checking your phone every few minutes. None of those thoughts are confirmed facts. The practical skill is to notice the difference before acting on the story. Start using a simple mental pause during difficult situations. Stop for a few seconds. Put both feet on the floor. Take one slow breath. Look at what is actually happening around you. Then describe the situation using only facts that you could prove to another person. This forces your attention away from assumptions and back toward reality. It also gives your emotions a little time to settle before they influence your next decision. This works because strong emotion can narrow your attention. A person who is angry may notice every word that feels disrespectful and misinformation that could solve the problem. A frightened person may notice every possible danger and ignore reasonable options. A disappointed person may focus on the result and forget the actions that can still be changed. Clear thinking starts by widening your attention again. Another useful practice is to ask yourself what is actually under your control. Your answer will usually be smaller than you expect. You cannot control another person's opinion. You cannot control yesterday's mistake. You cannot control whether someone gives you an opportunity. You can control the next message you send. You can control whether you prepare better. You can control how you speak. You can control whether you spend the next hour solving the problem or worrying about it. This is more than positive thinking. It is a way to use your attention properly. Attention is limited. Every minute spent repeatedly reviewing an event that cannot be changed is a minute taken away from an action that might improve your position. The goal is not to ignore the problem. The goal is to stop giving mental energy to parts of the problem that you cannot change. A practical daily exercise can make this skill stronger. At the end of a difficult day, write down one situation that disturbed you. Under it, write 3 short statements. First, write what happened. Next, write what you felt. Then write what you did. This simple record helps you notice patterns. You may discover that criticism makes you react too quickly. You may notice that uncertainty makes you seek reassurance. You may see that tiredness causes you to make decisions that you would normally avoid. That discovery is valuable because improvement becomes easier once you can see your pattern. You cannot change a reaction that you never notice. A person may say that other people make them angry, but closer observation may show that the real problem is reacting immediately to disrespect. Another person may say that they lack confidence, while their daily behavior shows that they avoid situations where they might be judged. Clear thinking helps you identify the real behavior behind the complaint. There is another lesson that matters during pressure. Do not make permanent decisions from temporary emotions. A stressful afternoon can make your entire life look unsuccessful. One rejection can make a career seem pointless. One argument can make a relationship seem impossible. One mistake can make you question your ability. Strong emotions often speak in absolute terms. They make one event feel like a complete picture of your life. Give important decisions more time than ordinary decisions. You do not need hours to choose what to eat. You may need time before deciding to quit a job, end an important relationship, spend a large amount of money, or send an angry message. The greater the consequence, the more useful a calm review becomes. This does not mean avoiding decisions. It means making important decisions from evidence rather than emotional pressure. You can also train yourself to use better language during difficult moments. Notice the difference between saying, "Everything is ruined," and saying, "This part did not work." The second statement is more accurate. It leaves room for action. Notice the difference between saying, "I always fail," and saying, "I made a mistake in this situation." One attacks your identity. The other identifies a behavior that can be examined and improved. Your words influence the way you examine a problem. This is why accurate language matters. A person who calls every setback a disaster will approach problems differently from someone who describes the same event with specific facts. Specific language creates specific action. Instead of saying that your life is a mess, identify the unpaid bill, unfinished task, difficult conversation, or missed deadline. Once the problem has a clear name, the next action becomes easier to see. You should also learn to delay emotional communication. This is especially useful with messages. A short, angry message can take 10 seconds to write and create weeks of unnecessary conflict. Write what you want to say, but do not send it immediately. Read it again after your breathing has slowed and your body feels less tense. Remove accusations that you cannot prove. Keep the facts. State the problem. State what you need. This small habit can protect relationships and your own reputation. Clear thinking also improves your ability to learn from mistakes. Many people avoid studying their mistakes because the memory feels uncomfortable. They want to move on quickly. But avoiding the lesson allows the same pattern to return. A better approach is to review the event without attacking yourself. Ask what decision was made. Ask what information was available at that time. Ask what was missed. Ask what you would do differently next time. Then use the answer in your next situation. Notice how different this is from blaming yourself. Self-criticism often produces shame without producing useful information. Honest review produces information that can improve behavior. You do not need to tell yourself that you are terrible to understand that you handled a situation badly. You need enough honesty to see the mistake and enough discipline to correct it. Your physical state also affects your ability to think clearly. Lack of sleep, hunger, constant notifications, and long periods of stress can make emotional reactions stronger. This is one reason some problems feel much larger late at night than they do the next morning. Your mind is not operating separately from your body. Basic habits such as sleeping properly, eating regularly, moving your body, and taking short breaks can support better judgment during demanding days. Pay attention to the moments when your body gives you warning signs. Your jaw may tighten, your shoulders may rise, your voice may become faster, your breathing may become shallow. These signs can tell you that your emotional intensity is increasing. You do not have to wait until you lose control. Use the physical signal as an early reminder to slow down and create space before responding. Here is another practical habit worth developing. During a difficult conversation, listen completely before preparing your response. Many people appear to listen while mentally building their defense. They hear only the words that threaten their position. Clear thinking requires understanding the other person's actual point before deciding how to answer. You can ask for clarification. You can repeat what you understood. You can then respond to the real issue instead of the version created by your emotions. This skill becomes especially important at work. A manager may criticize a piece of work. The first emotional response may be embarrassment or anger, but the useful questions are more specific. What part was incorrect? What standard was missed? What needs to change? What should be done differently next time? These questions turn criticism into information. You do not have to agree with every criticism to learn from some of it. The same principle applies to personal problems. A difficult person may remain difficult. A situation may remain unfair. You may not get the outcome you wanted. Clear thinking does not guarantee that every situation will become pleasant. It gives you a better chance of choosing the response that protects your future. Your goal is not to become emotionless. Emotions contain information. Fear can tell you that something matters. Anger can tell you that a boundary may have been crossed. Sadness can show that you have lost something important. The problem begins when emotion becomes the only source of decision-making. Strong people can feel deeply and still examine the facts. Practice this during small problems before you need it during major ones. Use the pause when someone cuts you off in traffic. Use it after receiving an unpleasant message. Use it when a coworker disagrees with you. Use it after making a small mistake. These ordinary moments are useful training because they give you repeated opportunities to notice your reaction and choose a better response. At the end of each day, spend 5 minutes reviewing your decisions. Do not ask whether the day was perfect. Ask where you stayed clear and where emotion took control. Identify one moment that you handled well. Identify one moment you would handle differently. Then choose one specific behavior for tomorrow. This keeps self-improvement practical. You are not trying to become a completely different person overnight. You are improving one response at a time. There will be days when you still react badly. That does not erase your progress. The important part is what happens after the reaction. Notice it. Take responsibility for your part. Repair what needs to be repaired. Learn what caused it. Then return to the practice. A strong mind is not built by never making mistakes. It becomes stronger through honest correction. Life will continue to bring situations that you did not plan for. Plans will change. People will disappoint you. Work will become difficult. Money will create pressure. Some efforts will fail. You will receive news that you did not want. Your advantage is not having a life without problems. Your advantage is developing the ability to meet those problems with a clear mind. The next time something goes wrong, pay attention to the first few minutes. Do not rush to explain everything. Do not immediately blame yourself or someone else. Get the facts. Name the emotion. Separate what you can control from what you cannot. Choose the next useful action. Then take it. That is how you begin training your mind to handle real life with greater strength. You stop allowing every unexpected event to decide your behavior. You learn to pause without becoming passive. You learn to feel without losing judgment. You learn to face facts without making them bigger than they are. With enough daily practice, clear thinking becomes part of how you live, especially in the moments that once caused you to lose control. Chapter 2. Control yourself before you react. Control yourself before you react, because the few seconds between what happens and what you do next can change the entire result. Your first reaction is often emotional, fast, and incomplete. Your controlled response gives you time to understand what is really happening and choose an action that serves you. A reaction usually happens before you have examined the situation properly. Someone speaks harshly to you, and your voice becomes louder. Someone questions your ability, and you immediately defend yourself. A person ignores your message and you feel rejected. A coworker receives credit for work you helped complete, and anger rises in your chest. These moments are common, but they do not have to control your behavior. The important skill is learning to notice the first impulse without automatically obeying it. Your first impulse is not always your true decision. It is simply the first response produced by your current emotional state. This distinction matters because many problems become larger after the original event has already passed. The harsh comment may last 10 seconds, but your angry reply can damage a relationship for months. The unexpected criticism may take 1 minute, but an emotional decision to quit can affect your income and future opportunities. Learning to control yourself protects you from consequences created by temporary feelings. Start by noticing your personal warning signs. Every person has physical signals that appear before an emotional reaction becomes visible. Your heart may beat faster. Your face may feel warm. Your hands may tighten. You may start speaking quickly. You may feel the need to interrupt. You may suddenly want to prove that you are right. These signs are useful information. They tell you that your body is preparing to respond before your mind has fully evaluated the situation. Once you recognize those signs, create a short delay. Do not make the delay complicated. Take one breath before answering. Relax your hands. Lower your voice. Look at the person instead of immediately looking away. Give yourself a few seconds to process what you heard. This small interruption can prevent an automatic reaction from becoming your next action. There is a major difference between controlling your emotions and suppressing them. Suppression means pretending you are not angry, hurt, or afraid. Control means recognizing the emotion while deciding how to express it. You can be angry and still speak respectfully. You can feel disappointed and still complete your responsibility. You can feel nervous and still make the necessary phone call. Emotional control does not remove your feelings. It gives you authority over your behavior. One useful rule is to avoid answering the emotion with more emotion. Anger often invites anger. Defensiveness often creates more defensiveness. Insults often produce another insult. This does not solve the original problem. It adds another problem. A controlled person changes the pattern by refusing to increase the emotional intensity of the moment. Consider a simple workplace situation. Your manager says that your recent work was not good enough. Your first thought may be that the criticism is unfair. You may want to explain everything you did. You may want to point out another employee's mistakes. That response might feel satisfying for a few seconds. A better response could be to ask which part needs improvement. Now you have moved from defending yourself to collecting useful information. You can disagree later if necessary, but first understand the specific issue. This approach also works in relationships. A partner may say something that hurts you. Your mind may immediately search for an old mistake to use against them. That is where many conversations stop being about the current problem. Old arguments enter the discussion. Voices become louder. Both people begin trying to win instead of trying to understand. Self-control means staying with the actual issue and refusing to bring unrelated pain into the conversation. You should also become careful with digital communication. Messages remove many human signals, such as facial expression and tone of voice. A short sentence can appear rude, even when it was not intended that way. An emotional reply can create unnecessary conflict because you are responding to your interpretation rather than the person's actual intention. Before sending a difficult message, read it once, as though you were receiving it. Remove words that attack the person's character. Keep the message focused on the situation and the result you need. Another powerful habit is learning to tolerate the discomfort of not responding immediately. Many people believe every message needs an instant answer. Every disagreement needs an instant defense. Every accusation needs an instant explanation. It does not. Some situations become clearer after a little time. A delayed response is not weakness when the delay helps you choose better words. You can train this ability through ordinary daily situations. Stand in a slow line without repeatedly checking the time. Let another person finish speaking without interrupting. Read a critical comment without immediately responding. Wait before buying something you suddenly want. These small exercises teach your mind that discomfort does not require immediate action. That lesson becomes valuable during much bigger challenges. There is also a financial side to emotional control. Many poor money decisions begin with a feeling. Someone feels behind and buys something expensive to feel successful. Someone feels anxious and sells an investment without understanding what changed. Someone feels pressure from friends and spends money they cannot comfortably afford. The practical solution is to create rules before emotion becomes intense. Decide in advance how much you will spend, how long you will wait before major purchases, and what information you need before making a financial decision. The same principle applies to important career decisions. Do not resign from a job during your worst afternoon. Do not accept a major opportunity simply because you are afraid another one will never come. Write down the actual advantages and disadvantages. Consider your income, responsibilities, skills, future options, and the reason you want the change. Decisions become more reliable when you examine evidence instead of allowing one emotional moment to represent your entire situation. Self-control also requires knowing what triggers you. Spend a week paying attention to situations that make you react quickly. Maybe disrespect is difficult for you. Maybe being ignored affects you strongly. Maybe criticism makes you defensive. Maybe delays make you impatient. Maybe uncertainty makes you seek constant reassurance. You do not need to judge yourself for having these triggers. You need to understand them. Once you know your pattern, you can prepare for it. Write down 3 situations that regularly cause poor reactions, then write the behavior you usually show. After that, choose a replacement behavior. If criticism makes you interrupt, your new behavior can be listening until the person finishes. If rejection makes you send repeated messages, your new behavior can be giving the person space. If anger makes you raise your voice, your new behavior can be lowering your voice and asking for a short break. This is how self-control becomes practical. You do not simply tell yourself to be stronger. You identify the trigger, recognize the early signal, create a pause, and choose a specific replacement action. Repetition makes the new response easier to access. You are training behavior through practice, rather than waiting for perfect emotional strength. Do not expect yourself to remain calm in every situation immediately. Some situations will reach you deeply. The goal is progress in the space between feeling and acting. Perhaps you used to respond within seconds, and now you can wait 30 seconds. Perhaps you once sent angry messages, and now you save them for later. Perhaps you used to walk away from difficult conversations, and now you stay long enough to communicate clearly. Those changes matter because they show that you are becoming more deliberate. There is another important part of self-control that people often ignore. Learn to leave a situation before your judgment becomes poor. A conversation does not always need to continue simply because it has started. When voices become too high and neither person is listening, continuing may produce more damage than progress. You can say that you need some time and return to the conversation later. Taking space is different from avoiding responsibility. You are creating better conditions for a useful discussion. Your environment can also make self-control easier. Reduce unnecessary notifications. Do not keep your phone beside you during every important conversation. Avoid making serious decisions while exhausted. Give yourself quiet periods during the day. A mind that receives constant stimulation has fewer opportunities to process information carefully. Creating a calmer environment reduces the number of moments in which you have to fight unnecessary impulses. Each evening, review one moment where you controlled yourself well. Then review one moment where you reacted too quickly. Study the second moment without insulting yourself. Identify the trigger. Identify the feeling. Identify the behavior. Then decide what you will do differently next time. This creates a daily feedback system that gradually improves your responses. Your character becomes visible in the moments where nobody is forcing you to behave well. Anyone can speak calmly during an easy conversation. The deeper test comes when you feel insulted, disappointed, ignored, or misunderstood. Those moments reveal whether your habits control you or whether you have developed enough discipline to choose your behavior. You cannot decide what every person will say to you. You cannot prevent every disappointment. You cannot remove every stressful situation from your life. You can develop the habit of creating space before you respond. You can examine your feelings without allowing them to make every decision. You can choose words that solve problems instead of creating new ones. That pause may look small from the outside, but it can change what happens next. A calmer answer can protect a relationship. A delayed purchase can protect your finances. A thoughtful response can protect your career. A controlled conversation can prevent a disagreement from becoming a lasting conflict. Your strongest response is often not the fastest one. It is the one you can respect after the emotion has passed. Chapter 3. Stay focused. When everything feels difficult, difficulty does not remove your ability to focus. It simply makes focus more demanding. The hardest days often contain more noise, more unfinished work, more uncomfortable thoughts, and more reasons to stop. Your ability to keep your attention on the right task during those days has a direct effect on the results you produce. A difficult period can make every responsibility feel urgent at the same time. Your phone keeps receiving messages. Work continues to arrive. Bills need attention. People want answers. Your mind starts moving from one concern to another without completing anything. At the end of the day, you may feel exhausted, even though the most important task remains unfinished. This happens because mental effort is being divided across too many demands. Focus begins with deciding what deserves your attention first. You cannot give full attention to 10 important things at the same moment. Choose one meaningful task and define what completion looks like. Instead of saying you need to work on your career, identify the specific action that moves it forward. You might need to finish a report, study for 1 hour, contact a potential client, or prepare for an interview. A clear target gives your attention a place to go. There is a useful difference between being busy and making progress. Busy behavior can include checking messages, organizing files, reading unnecessary information, and constantly switching tasks. Progress usually requires staying with one important activity long enough to produce a result. This is why difficult days require stronger protection of your attention. The problem is not always a lack of time. Often, the problem is that your available time is repeatedly broken into small pieces. Try creating a short period each day where one task receives your full attention. Start with 30 minutes if necessary. Put your phone away. Close unrelated tabs. Tell people you need uninterrupted time when possible. Decide what you will complete before the period begins. Then stay with that task until the time ends. This exercise teaches your brain to remain with useful work even after the initial excitement disappears. The first few minutes may feel uncomfortable. Your mind may suddenly remember another task. You may want to check your phone. You may notice a small problem that seems urgent. This does not mean you have chosen the wrong task. It means your attention has become accustomed to frequent changes. Stay with the planned activity and let those urges pass without acting on them. You should also learn to separate difficult work from emotional resistance. A task can be valuable even when you do not feel ready to do it. People often wait for the right mood before starting important work. That approach creates a serious problem because mood changes throughout the day. Discipline becomes more reliable when the decision to work is made before the emotional state appears. Consider studying after a long day. Your body feels tired. The material seems difficult. You may want to watch something easy instead. Rather than demanding several hours of perfect concentration, set a small starting point. Read 5 pages. Complete 10 practice questions. Review 1 section. Once you begin, the task becomes more concrete. Starting reduces uncertainty, and reduced uncertainty often makes continued effort easier. Another important skill is reducing the number of decisions you make during demanding periods. Decision fatigue can make ordinary choices feel harder after a day filled with decisions. You can reduce this problem by preparing certain parts of your routine in advance. Decide your working hours. Prepare your study materials before starting. Keep frequently used items in consistent places. Plan simple meals. Create a short list of priorities the night before. These actions preserve mental energy for work that requires judgment. Difficult situations also create negative mental noise. You may start thinking about everything that could go wrong. You may remember previous failures. You may compare your progress with another person's progress. You may wonder whether your effort will ever produce results. These thoughts can consume attention without producing a useful action. A better approach is to convert the concern into a specific task whenever possible. Suppose you are worried about falling behind in your career. Instead of spending an hour thinking about your future, identify one skill that would improve your position. Research what the skill requires. Set a study schedule. Complete the first lesson. Now your concern has become an action. You may still feel uncertain, but your attention is producing progress rather than repeating fear. There will also be days when your normal routine is interrupted by unexpected problems. A family issue may arise. Your workplace may become stressful. An important plan may fail. On those days, do not expect the same level of productivity as an ordinary day. Adjust the size of the task while keeping the direction. If you normally study for 2 hours, perhaps you can study for 20 minutes. If you normally exercise for an hour, perhaps you can take a short walk. The purpose is to maintain useful behavior during difficult conditions. This matters because consistency does not require identical performance every day. A person who believes every day must be perfect may abandon the routine after one difficult day. A more practical approach is to establish a minimum standard. Decide the smallest action that keeps the habit alive. That might be reading 1 page, writing 1 paragraph, practicing 1 skill, or completing 1 important call. Small actions protect continuity during periods when energy is limited. Focus also requires learning to handle unfinished tasks. An unfinished task can stay active in your mind and compete for attention. One practical solution is to write it down instead of repeatedly remembering it. Keep a simple list of tasks that need attention. Give each task a clear next action. Work on business is vague. Write the first section of the proposal is specific. The more precise the task, the easier it becomes to begin. Your workspace matters too. A cluttered environment can constantly remind you of unrelated responsibilities. You do not need a perfect office. You need a place where the next important task is easy to begin. Keep the materials you need close by. Remove obvious distractions. Make the desired behavior convenient and the distracting behavior slightly harder. Your attention is also affected by the information you consume. Too much news, social media, short videos, and constant commentary can make quiet work feel unusually difficult. Your brain becomes accustomed to frequent changes in information. Then a slow task, such as studying, writing, planning, or learning, can feel boring. Protecting your attention may require reducing unnecessary stimulation rather than trying to force more concentration. Try having a period each day with no entertainment or unnecessary information. Use that time for walking, planning, reading, studying, or simply sitting quietly. At first, you may notice how often your mind reaches for stimulation. That observation is useful. It shows you how strongly your habits influence your attention. Another powerful practice is to finish small tasks completely. Constantly leaving things half done trains your mind to tolerate unfinished work. Choose simple responsibilities and complete them before moving to the next one. Finish the email. Put the equipment away. Complete the exercise. Clean the workspace. Close the task properly. These small completions strengthen your ability to stay with something until it is done. You also need to protect focus from comparison. Someone else may be moving faster. Someone may already have the career you want. Another person may have more money, better connections, or more experience. Comparing your entire life to another person's visible results does not tell you what actions you should take today. Measure yourself against your own previous behavior. Ask whether your skills are improving, whether your habits are stronger, and whether your decisions are becoming better. During difficult periods, progress may become less visible. That does not mean the work has stopped producing value. A person learning a new skill may spend weeks making mistakes before the improvement becomes obvious. The useful response is to measure behaviors that lead to results. Count practice sessions, track completed assignments, record hours of focused work, review what you learned. These measures provide evidence that you are moving forward even before the final result appears. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 practical questions. What received most of my attention today? What important task did I avoid? What will receive my best attention tomorrow? The answers can reveal where your time is actually going. Your calendar and your attention should support the same priorities. There will be days when staying focused feels difficult because life itself is difficult. You may feel tired before you begin. You may have doubts about your ability. You may want immediate relief instead of another demanding task. Do not measure your ability only by how you perform on easy days. Your habits become most valuable when circumstances are not comfortable. Keep the next task clear. Reduce unnecessary choices. Protect a short period of uninterrupted work. Lower the size of the task when necessary without abandoning the direction. Write down distractions instead of following them. Measure actions instead of constantly judging results. These simple practices give your attention structure during periods that would otherwise pull you in many directions. The goal is not to remain focused every second. Human attention naturally changes. The goal is to notice when you have drifted and return to what matters. Each return is practice. Each completed task strengthens trust in your own discipline. Each difficult day that you handle with useful action teaches you that discomfort does not have to decide what you do next. Keep your attention close to the work that can actually improve your situation. Do not spend the entire day studying the problem. Give serious attention to the next useful step. That is how you continue moving forward, even on days when everything feels difficult. Chapter 4. Make strong decisions under pressure. Pressure can make a simple decision feel much bigger than it really is. Your heart speeds up, your attention narrows, and your mind starts looking for the fastest way out. Strong decisions come from slowing the process enough to see the facts, the risks, and the next useful action. A pressured decision is not always a bad decision. Some situations require you to act quickly. A medical emergency, a workplace problem, a sudden financial issue, or an unexpected change may not give you hours to think. The skill is not learning to take forever. The skill is learning how to think clearly with limited time. Start by separating urgency from importance. Something can feel urgent without being important. A message demanding an immediate answer may not deserve your immediate attention. A person becoming impatient does not automatically mean you must decide quickly. Ask yourself what will actually happen if you wait 10 minutes, 1 hour, or 1 day. That simple question can reveal whether the pressure is real or created by emotion. Strong decision-making begins with facts. Before choosing, identify what you actually know. Then, identify what you are assuming. This distinction is powerful because pressure often makes assumptions feel like facts. You may assume that an opportunity will disappear forever. You may assume someone will reject you. You may assume a mistake has destroyed your reputation. You may assume there is only one option. Write these assumptions down and examine them instead of allowing them to silently control your decision. A useful exercise is to describe the situation in one sentence without emotional language. Instead of saying, "My career is falling apart," say, "I have received 2 rejections this month and I need to improve my applications." The second statement gives you something to work with. You can review the applications, improve your skills, contact people, and continue applying. Clear language makes practical action easier. You should also learn to identify the decision that is actually in front of you. Many people become overwhelmed because they try to solve the entire future at once. A person deciding whether to accept a new job may start worrying about where they will live 5 years from now. A student choosing a course may start thinking about their entire career. A business owner facing a difficult month may begin worrying about the next decade. Those concerns may matter later, but they can distract you from the immediate decision. Bring the problem back to the next meaningful choice. What needs to be decided today? What information is missing? Who can provide that information? What action can reduce uncertainty? These questions turn a large emotional problem into a manageable decision. Another important skill is knowing your personal decision traps. Some people decide too quickly because they dislike uncertainty. Others delay because they are afraid of making the wrong choice. Some people always choose the option that keeps other people happy. Others choose whatever gives immediate comfort. You cannot improve your decisions until you understand the reason you usually choose. Look at your past choices without trying to make yourself feel good or bad. Think about a decision you regret. What were you trying to avoid? What were you hoping to gain? What information did you ignore? Who influenced you? Were you tired, angry, afraid, or desperate for approval? This review can reveal patterns that are more useful than simply calling the decision a mistake. Pressure also increases the desire for certainty. People often want to know exactly what will happen before they act. That is impossible for many important decisions. You rarely receive complete information about a new job, relationship, investment, business idea, or personal change. Good judgment means deciding with the best information available while accepting that some uncertainty will remain. You can reduce uncertainty by gathering the information that actually matters. Do not collect endless information just to feel safer. Decide what facts could change your choice. If you are considering a job, salary, working hours, responsibilities, growth opportunities, location, and stability may matter. If you are considering a purchase, total cost, usefulness, quality, and your ability to afford it may matter. Focus on information that can influence the decision. A strong decision also needs a clear standard. Before choosing, decide what matters most. Maybe you need stability. Maybe you need learning. Maybe you need flexibility. Maybe you need to protect your finances. Without a clear standard, the loudest emotion often becomes the deciding factor. A person may choose a job because it sounds impressive, even though it does not fit their priorities. Another person may reject a good opportunity simply because it feels unfamiliar. Write down your top 3 priorities before making a major choice. Then compare each option against those priorities. This creates a simple structure for your thinking. You may still feel uncertain, but you will have a reason for your decision. Do not confuse confidence with certainty. Confident people can still say, "I do not know yet." They can admit that more information is needed. They can change their decision after receiving new evidence. Pretending to know everything does not make a decision stronger. Honest uncertainty often produces better questions. There is also a cost to waiting too long. Delaying a decision may feel safe, but avoidance is still a decision. A person who keeps postponing an important conversation is choosing to let the current problem continue. Someone who never applies for a better job because rejection is possible is choosing to remain where they are. Someone who refuses to review their finances because the numbers are uncomfortable is allowing the problem to grow without attention. Set a reasonable deadline for decisions that do not require immediate action. Give yourself enough time to gather important facts, then choose. Once the deadline arrives, stop searching for perfect certainty. Make the best decision you can and commit to the next step. Another practical rule is to distinguish reversible decisions from difficult to reverse decisions. Trying a new study method is easy to change. Buying an expensive property is harder to reverse. Testing a new work routine may have little long-term cost. Leaving a stable job may have larger consequences. The more difficult a decision is to reverse, the more careful your preparation should be. This prevents you from treating every decision with the same level of seriousness. You can move quickly on small choices and spend more time on decisions with lasting consequences. That saves mental energy while protecting you from careless actions. Pressure can also come from other people. Someone may tell you that you must decide now. They may use fear, guilt, excitement, or social pressure to influence you. Learn to recognize this. You can respect another person's opinion without allowing their urgency to become your urgency. A simple statement such as, "I need time to review this before I decide," can protect your judgment. Your emotions deserve attention during important decisions, but they should not be the only evidence. Fear may be warning you about a real risk. Excitement may show that an opportunity matters to you. Anger may show that a boundary has been crossed. Listen to the emotion, then investigate the situation. Ask what created the feeling and whether the facts support it. After making a decision, do not spend the entire day reopening it in your mind. Once you have reviewed the important information and chosen your direction, move into execution. Constantly questioning a reasonable decision can drain energy that should be used to make the decision work. Give your choice enough time to produce evidence before judging it. This does not mean becoming stubborn. New information should be allowed to change your course. Strong decision-makers are not attached to being right. They are attached to learning what is true and doing what works. If the evidence changes, adjust. If the plan is working, continue. Your responsibility is not to defend an old decision forever. Practice decision-making in ordinary situations. Choose your priorities for the day before opening social media. Decide how much time you will spend on a task. Plan your spending before entering a store. Decide what information you need before asking for advice. Small decisions train the same mental habits that you will need during larger challenges. At the end of the week, review one important decision you made. Ask what information influenced you. Ask whether emotion helped or distracted you. Ask whether you acted too quickly or waited too long. Then write one lesson you can use next time. This creates a personal record of your decision habits and gives you evidence about where you need improvement. Strong decisions do not require a fearless mind. They require a disciplined process. You identify the facts. You question assumptions. You define what matters. You consider consequences. You gather useful information. You recognize pressure. You choose a reasonable time to act. Then you take responsibility for the result. There will always be moments where you cannot predict the outcome. That is part of real life. You do not need perfect information to make a useful decision. You need enough clarity to choose your next responsible action. Pressure becomes easier to handle as you build this process into your daily life. You stop allowing urgency to make every choice for you. You stop confusing fear with evidence. You stop waiting for complete certainty. You start making decisions based on facts, priorities, consequences, and disciplined judgment. The next time a difficult choice appears, give yourself enough space to see the situation clearly. Identify what matters, find the facts, remove the unnecessary noise. Decide what can be controlled and what cannot. Then make the strongest decision available and put your energy into carrying it out well. Chapter 5. Stop letting fear control your actions. Fear can influence your choices long before you notice it. It can make you delay an important conversation, avoid an opportunity, stay in an unhealthy routine, or refuse to begin something that could improve your life. Fear is a normal human response, but allowing it to make every decision can keep your life smaller than your ability. The first thing to understand is that fear is not always a warning that you should stop. Sometimes it is simply a response to uncertainty. Your mind prefers familiar situations because familiar situations require less effort to understand. A new job feels uncertain. Speaking in front of people feels uncertain. Starting a business feels uncertain. Learning a difficult skill feels uncertain. The discomfort you feel does not automatically mean the choice is wrong. Learn to identify exactly what you are afraid of. Do not use the word fear as a complete explanation. Make it specific. Are you afraid of rejection? Are you afraid of looking foolish? Are you afraid of losing money? Are you afraid that your effort will not produce results? Are you afraid that people will criticize you? Once the fear has a clear name, you can examine it instead of allowing it to remain a vague reason for doing nothing. Take rejection as an example. A person may say that they are afraid to apply for a better job, but the deeper fear may be receiving a rejection email. That rejection may feel personal, even though an employer can reject an application for many reasons. The practical response is to separate the event from your identity. A rejected application means that one opportunity did not work out. It does not prove that you are incapable of building a better career. Fear often becomes stronger because people predict the emotional experience before the event happens. You may picture yourself feeling embarrassed after making a mistake. You may picture people laughing after a failed presentation. You may picture a difficult conversation becoming a disaster. Your mind experiences the imagined event as a threat, even though the outcome has not happened. Bring your attention back to what you can actually prepare for. Preparation is one of the most useful ways to reduce unnecessary fear. A person afraid of public speaking can practice the opening several times. Someone nervous about an interview can prepare answers to common questions. Someone worried about an important conversation can write down the key points before speaking. Preparation does not guarantee a perfect result, but it replaces some uncertainty with information and practice. Do not wait to feel completely confident before taking action. Confidence often develops after repeated exposure to the activity you fear. A person becomes more comfortable speaking by speaking. A person becomes better at interviews by attending interviews. A person becomes more capable of handling criticism by receiving criticism and learning how to respond. Experience gives your mind evidence that the situation can be handled. Start with manageable exposure. If you are afraid to speak in front of a large group, do not begin by forcing yourself into the biggest possible audience. Speak during a small meeting. Ask one question in a group. Record yourself explaining an idea. Practice with someone you trust. Then increase the challenge. This allows your skills to grow alongside your confidence. Fear also becomes powerful when avoidance gives immediate relief. You avoid making the phone call and instantly feel better. You skip the application and the anxiety disappears for a few hours. You do not start the project and the pressure seems to leave. Your mind learns that avoidance removes discomfort. The problem is that the same fear returns the next time, often stronger, because you have trained yourself to escape it. This is why immediate relief can create long-term weakness. The action that makes you feel better right now is not always the action that improves your life. Staying silent may prevent an uncomfortable conversation today, but the problem may continue for months. Avoiding a difficult task may protect your mood for an afternoon, but the deadline remains. Refusing to learn a new skill may protect you from feeling inexperienced, but the skill gap continues. A better question is not whether an action feels comfortable. Ask whether avoiding it will improve your situation. That question changes the decision. You may still feel nervous, but you can see the cost of doing nothing. Fear also influences how people handle opportunities. Some people reject opportunities because they do not feel ready. They tell themselves they need more knowledge, more money, more experience, or more confidence. Sometimes preparation is genuinely necessary, but sometimes "I am not ready" is simply a more comfortable version of "I am afraid to be judged." Learn to distinguish a real limitation from an emotional excuse. A real limitation requires a plan. If you lack a skill, learn it. If you lack money, create a savings plan. If you lack experience, find a smaller way to gain experience. If you lack information, research the decision. A vague fear does not need endless thinking. It needs a specific response. There is also a difference between healthy caution and fear-based avoidance. Healthy caution examines risk. It asks how much could be lost and how that loss could be reduced. Fear-based avoidance often treats any risk as a reason to stop. A careful person may say, "I need to understand the cost before I proceed." A fearful person may say, "This could fail, so I should never try." The first response studies the risk. The second response gives the risk complete control. Use a simple risk review before important actions. Write down the worst realistic outcome. Then write down the most likely outcome. Then identify what you can do to reduce the risk. This prevents your mind from treating the worst possibility as the most probable one. It also gives you practical steps instead of endless worry. Fear of failure deserves special attention because it can prevent learning. Many people treat failure as a final judgment. A better approach is to treat unsuccessful attempts as information. A failed interview can show you which answers need improvement. A rejected proposal can reveal that the offer was unclear. A poor test result can show where your understanding is weak. The result may be disappointing, but the information can improve your next attempt. Do not make failure larger than it is. One failed attempt is one event. It does not automatically predict the next attempt. Review what happened, identify what was within your control, and change the relevant behavior. This creates a practical learning process rather than a cycle of shame. Fear of criticism can be even more subtle. You may stop sharing ideas because someone might disagree. You may avoid changing your appearance because people might comment. You may keep your goals private because others may question them. You do not need everyone's approval before taking responsible action. Listen to useful feedback, but learn to separate useful information from personal attacks and unnecessary opinions. Ask yourself, whose opinion actually matters for the decision you are making? A qualified person giving specific feedback may provide valuable information. A stranger making a careless comment may not. Treating every opinion as equally important gives too much control to people who know little about your situation. Fear can also appear as perfectionism. You keep editing the project because you are afraid someone will find a mistake. You keep planning because starting feels risky. You keep studying, but never take the test because you want to feel completely prepared. Perfection can become a method of avoiding exposure to judgment. Set a clear standard for good enough. Complete the work to the required level, submit it, and learn from the response. Improvement becomes possible only after your work enters the real world. Private preparation has limits. At some point, you need actual feedback. You can train yourself to act, despite fear, through small daily commitments. Choose one action that you have been avoiding. Make it specific. Send the application. Make the call. Ask the question. Start the lesson. Speak during the meeting. Complete the first page. The purpose is not to eliminate fear before acting. The purpose is to prove through behavior that fear does not have to decide what happens next. Keep a record of these actions. At the end of the week, write down what you were afraid would happen and what actually happened. This comparison can teach you something important about your own predictions. You may discover that many feared outcomes never occurred. You may also discover that some difficult outcomes did happen, but you handled them better than expected. That evidence matters. Your mind learns from experience. Each time you take a responsible action while feeling nervous, you gain information about your ability to handle discomfort. Over time, the fear may become less dominant because your experience gives you a more accurate view of your capabilities. You should also stop using fear as proof that something is impossible. Feeling nervous before a major opportunity does not mean you cannot handle it. Feeling uncomfortable during a difficult conversation does not mean the conversation should never happen. Feeling uncertain about a new path does not mean you must stay where you are. There will be situations where fear is telling you something important. Listen carefully. A dangerous situation requires caution. A financially reckless decision deserves careful review. A person repeatedly violating your boundaries deserves attention. Courage does not mean ignoring warning signs. It means examining them honestly and responding according to the facts. The goal is to make fear one piece of information rather than the person making the decision for you. You can hear the warning without obeying every alarm. You can recognize uncertainty without treating it as failure. You can respect risk while still moving toward meaningful opportunities. Each day gives you small chances to practice this skill. Do one thing that is useful but slightly uncomfortable. Speak honestly instead of pretending everything is fine. Ask for feedback. Start a task before you feel ready. Apply for something that interests you. Learn something that exposes your lack of knowledge. These actions build a stronger relationship with discomfort. Your life changes when you stop asking whether you feel fearless and start asking whether your next action is responsible and useful. Fear may still be present. Your hands may still feel tense. Your voice may still shake. Your mind may still predict failure. You can acknowledge all of that and continue with the action that your values and goals require. Do not give fear the responsibility of deciding your future. Study it, name it, prepare for real risks, reduce unnecessary risks, take smaller steps when needed, learn from the results, keep increasing your ability to act while uncomfortable. The person you become is shaped not only by what you achieve, but also by the moments when you refuse to let fear make the choice for you. Each responsible action teaches you that discomfort can be experienced without surrendering control. That lesson becomes more valuable every time life asks you to do something difficult. Chapter 6. Keep going when you feel like quitting. There are days when continuing feels harder than starting ever did. The excitement has disappeared, the results seem slow, and the work that once felt meaningful starts to feel heavy. Learning how to continue during those moments is one of the most important skills you can develop, because progress often depends less on how strongly you begin and more on how well you handle the middle. The middle is where many people lose consistency. At the beginning, everything feels new. You have a clear goal and plenty of energy. You make plans, organize your schedule, and feel confident about what you can accomplish. Then, ordinary life returns. Work becomes tiring. Progress becomes difficult to notice. Small problems appear. You make mistakes. The routine becomes familiar. This is where your real habits begin to show. Do not judge your entire goal based on one difficult period. A bad week can make a good plan feel useless. A slow month can make you question a goal that still has value. Strong decision-making requires looking at the larger pattern instead of allowing one uncomfortable period to decide everything. Before quitting, examine what has actually changed. Ask yourself whether the goal has become wrong or whether the process has simply become difficult. Those are different problems. If the goal no longer fits your values, changing direction may be wise. But if the goal still matters and only the daily work has become uncomfortable, quitting may simply be an emotional response to temporary difficulty. This distinction can save you from abandoning valuable work too early. A student may want to quit learning a difficult subject because the material has become confusing. A person building a business may want to stop because sales are slower than expected. Someone improving their fitness may want to abandon the routine because progress has become less visible. In each case, the useful question is not whether the work feels easy. The useful question is whether the method needs improvement. Sometimes you do not need more motivation. You need a smaller task. This is a practical lesson that many people overlook. When energy is low, large goals create unnecessary mental resistance. Instead of telling yourself to finish an entire project, define the next 20 minutes. Instead of trying to study everything, complete one section. Instead of fixing your entire routine, improve the next hour. Reducing the size of the immediate task can make continued action possible without changing the larger goal. Create a minimum standard for difficult days. Decide in advance what you will still do, even when your energy is low. It could be 10 minutes of study, 1 page of writing, 1 workout exercise, 1 sales call, or 15 minutes of focused work. The exact amount is less important than maintaining a connection with the habit. This prevents one difficult day from becoming a complete break in your routine. There is another reason this matters. Every time you stop a useful behavior because you feel uncomfortable, your mind learns that discomfort is a signal to escape. Every time you continue with a reasonable amount of effort, your mind learns something different. It learns that tiredness, boredom, uncertainty, and frustration can exist without automatically ending the activity. You should not use this principle to ignore genuine exhaustion or serious problems. Rest is part of productive effort. Recovery is necessary when your body or mind needs it. The important distinction is between intelligent recovery and emotional escape. Rest helps you return with more capacity. Avoidance simply delays the task while keeping the same problem waiting for you. Learn to ask what kind of difficulty you are experiencing. Are you physically exhausted? Are you confused about the next step? Are you bored because the activity is repetitive? Are you discouraged because results are slow? Are you afraid of discovering that your effort may not work? Each problem requires a different response. Physical exhaustion may require sleep or recovery. Confusion may require instruction. Boredom may require a better routine. Slow results may require patience and measurement. Fear may require a smaller action that gets you moving again. Saying, "I want to quit," does not explain the real problem. Identifying the reason gives you something useful to work with. Measure effort during periods when results are difficult to see. Results can arrive unevenly. A person may practice a skill for weeks without noticing a major improvement, then suddenly perform much better. If you measure only visible outcomes, you may conclude that nothing is happening. Track the behaviors that create those outcomes. Count practice sessions. Record completed tasks. Measure applications sent. Track hours spent learning. Review the quality of your work. This gives you evidence about whether you are actually continuing. It also helps you identify problems in your method. If you have worked consistently for months and the expected result has not appeared, that does not automatically mean you should work harder. You may need better information, a different strategy, or feedback from someone experienced. Persistence without learning can become stubbornness. Continuing blindly is not the same as disciplined commitment. A strong person can remain committed to the goal while changing the method. You might need to change your schedule, improve your skills, seek guidance, remove an unnecessary step, or use a different approach. The purpose of persistence is not to repeat the same action forever. It is to keep moving toward a worthwhile result while learning from evidence. Review your process regularly. Choose one day each week to ask what is working and what is not. Look at your actual behavior rather than your intentions. Did you spend the time you planned? Did you complete the important tasks? Did you avoid something difficult? Did your method produce improvement? What should change next week? This prevents persistence from becoming mindless repetition. Your environment also affects your ability to continue. If every part of your routine depends on willpower, difficult days will become harder. Make the useful action easier to start. Prepare your materials in advance. Keep your workspace ready. Schedule the task at a time when your energy is usually higher. Reduce unnecessary distractions. Tell someone you trust about an important commitment if accountability helps you. Do not make your daily routine depend entirely on how inspired you feel. Feelings change throughout the day. A person may feel committed in the morning and exhausted in the evening. The purpose of a routine is to reduce the number of times you need to negotiate with yourself. The time arrives, and you begin because the behavior has already been decided. There will also be moments when other people do not understand why you continue. They may question your progress. They may tell you to choose something easier. Their opinions can become especially distracting when you already feel uncertain. Listen to useful advice, but do not allow casual comments to replace your own evaluation of the situation. You need a personal reason for continuing, not a slogan, not a dramatic statement, a clear reason that matters to your actual life. Maybe you want greater financial stability. Maybe you want to become skilled enough to have better opportunities. Maybe you want to become more dependable. Maybe you want to complete something you once believed you could not do. A meaningful reason gives the difficult work context. Write that reason down in practical language. Then write what continuing will require. Be honest about the cost. Time, effort, delayed comfort, mistakes, and repeated practice may all be part of it. This prevents you from being surprised by normal difficulty. You begin to understand that struggle is not evidence that the plan has failed. One of the worst times to make a major quitting decision is during an emotional low point. Give yourself a review period instead. Tell yourself that you will continue the minimum useful action for several more days while examining the situation calmly. During that period, gather information. Look at your progress. Speak to someone knowledgeable. Identify what is actually causing the frustration. Then make the decision from evidence. This protects you from confusing temporary emotion with permanent judgment. You can also use the concept of unfinished work carefully. Sometimes the discomfort of stopping comes from knowing that you are close to completing something important. A difficult final stage may require extra attention. Other times, you may continue simply because you have already invested a lot of time in something that no longer makes sense. Past effort alone is not a reason to continue. Evaluate the future value of the work, rather than trying to justify every hour you have already spent. The ability to continue also develops through small promises to yourself. Decide that you will complete one task today and keep that promise. Do it again tomorrow. Keep the promise small enough to be realistic and meaningful enough to matter. Over time, these repeated actions create evidence that you can rely on yourself even when your mood changes. There is a quiet confidence that comes from knowing you do not abandon every useful goal the moment it becomes uncomfortable. You begin to trust your own behavior because you have seen yourself continue through ordinary difficulty. That trust is built through action, not through telling yourself that you are strong. Some days will still feel slow. Some efforts will still fail. Some goals will need to be changed. You may reach a point where a different direction is genuinely better. That is not weakness. Good judgment includes knowing when to adjust. The important thing is to make that decision after honest evaluation rather than during a moment of frustration. Before you quit something that matters, pause and examine the problem. Identify what is making the work difficult. Reduce the immediate task. Protect the habit. Measure the behavior. Improve the method. Ask for useful feedback. Give yourself enough time to see whether the adjustment works. You do not need to feel powerful every day. You need a practical way to continue on ordinary days, difficult days, and days when the result is still far away. Keep the next action clear. Do what you can with the energy you have. Learn from what happens. Return to the work again. The ability to keep going is not built in one dramatic moment. It is developed through hundreds of ordinary decisions to complete what matters, adjust what is not working, rest when necessary, and return to the task without allowing temporary frustration to decide your long-term direction. Chapter 7. Turn bad days into better lessons. A bad day can either remain a painful memory or become useful information for your future. The event itself may not be under your control, but the way you study it afterward is. People who improve consistently are not people who avoid every mistake. They are people who learn how to examine difficult experiences without wasting the lesson. Some days simply do not go according to plan. You wake up late, miss an important deadline, argue with someone you care about, make an expensive mistake, perform badly at work, or receive news that changes your plans. By evening, you may feel frustrated and want to forget the entire day. Rest is useful, but forgetting everything is not. A difficult experience contains details that can help you make better choices later. Start by refusing to judge the entire day as a failure. One bad event does not define every hour that came before or after it. You may have made one poor decision and still handled another responsibility well. You may have lost an opportunity and still learned something valuable. Accurate thinking requires separating the different parts of the day instead of placing one negative event over everything. After a difficult day, give yourself a short review. Do not do this while you are extremely emotional. Wait until you can look at the situation with some distance. Then write down what happened in plain language. Avoid words such as always, never, everything, or nothing. These words often make a problem larger than the evidence supports. Suppose you lost your temper during a conversation. Instead of writing, "I ruined everything," write, "I became angry during the conversation and raised my voice." The second statement gives you something specific to study. You can examine what happened before the anger, what you said, how the other person responded, and what you could change next time. A useful lesson often hides inside the sequence of events. Problems rarely appear without any warning. There may have been small signs earlier in the day. You may have been tired. You may have skipped an important task. You may have ignored a message. You may have accepted too many responsibilities. You may have entered the conversation already frustrated. Finding the earlier link can help you prevent the same result. This is why reviewing only the final mistake is not enough. Study what happened before it. Think about a person who misses an important deadline. The obvious lesson might be that they need to work faster, but a deeper review may show that they started too late because the task was unclear. They kept checking messages because they had no protected work period. They underestimated how long the final part would take. The real lesson is not simply to work harder. It may be to define the task earlier and divide it into smaller stages. This kind of review turns experience into education. Another important question is what part of the situation was under your control. Some bad events are caused by circumstances you cannot change. A flight may be cancelled. Another person may break a promise. A company may reject your application. A machine may fail. You should not take personal responsibility for everything that goes wrong, but there may still be a useful response within your control. Perhaps you can communicate better. Perhaps you can create a backup plan. Perhaps you can prepare earlier. Perhaps you can choose a different response to another person's behavior. The goal is not to blame yourself. The goal is to find the part where your actions can make a difference. There is also value in asking what you expected to happen. Many disappointments become stronger because reality does not match our assumptions. You expected someone to support you. You expected a project to succeed quickly. You expected a conversation to go smoothly. You expected your effort to produce a certain result. The disappointment may teach you that your expectation was too optimistic or based on incomplete information. This does not mean becoming negative. It means becoming more accurate. Accurate expectations can improve your preparation. A person who knows a project may take longer will build extra time into the schedule. Someone who knows rejection is possible will prepare for multiple applications. Someone who understands that difficult conversations may become uncomfortable will prepare key points before speaking. Learning from disappointment allows future planning to become more realistic. Bad days can also reveal weaknesses that comfortable days hide. A stressful situation may show that you have poor time management. A disagreement may reveal that you listen poorly when you feel criticized. A financial problem may expose weak spending habits. A missed opportunity may show that you have not developed an important skill. These discoveries may feel uncomfortable, but they are valuable because they identify areas that need work. Do not attack yourself for discovering a weakness. You cannot improve what you refuse to see. A person who says, "I am bad with money," may feel ashamed but remain unchanged. A person who says, "I spend without checking my monthly limits," has identified a behavior. The second person has something they can change. This is the difference between identity-based thinking and behavior-based thinking. Identity-based thinking says, "This is just who I am." Behavior-based thinking says, "This is what I have been doing." The second view leaves room for improvement. Your past behavior gives you information. It does not have to become your permanent identity. You can make this process part of your weekly routine. Choose one difficult experience from the week and review it with 5 practical questions. What happened? What caused it? What did I do well? What did I handle poorly? What will I change next time? Write short answers. The purpose is not to create a long journal entry. The purpose is to create useful feedback. You should also record what worked. People often study their failures while ignoring successful actions. That creates an incomplete picture. Maybe you stayed calm during part of the problem. Maybe you asked for help before the situation became worse. Maybe you recovered quickly. Maybe you corrected the mistake the same day. These behaviors deserve attention because they can be repeated. Learning from a bad day is not only about preventing mistakes. It is also about identifying strengths that can be used again. Pay attention to emotional patterns too. Certain experiences may repeatedly affect you in similar ways. Perhaps criticism causes you to become defensive. Perhaps uncertainty makes you delay action. Perhaps being ignored makes you seek immediate reassurance. Perhaps financial stress makes you avoid looking at your accounts. A repeated emotional pattern is worth studying because it can influence many areas of life. Once you identify the pattern, create a specific response. If criticism makes you defensive, practice listening fully before explaining yourself. If uncertainty makes you delay, decide what information is actually necessary and set a deadline. If financial stress makes you avoid your accounts, schedule a fixed weekly review. A lesson becomes useful only after it changes behavior. Another valuable practice is to separate the lesson from the emotional pain. You may remember an embarrassing event for years, but remembering the embarrassment is not the same as learning from it. Ask what information you can take from the event, then use that information. Once the lesson has been applied, there is less reason to repeatedly punish yourself with the memory. People sometimes replay their worst moments because they believe self-punishment will prevent another mistake. Usually, repeated shame does not improve the behavior. Specific correction is more useful. You do not need to suffer again to prove that you regret something. You need to change what you do next time. There is also a lesson in how you speak to yourself after a bad day. Harsh self-talk can reduce your willingness to try again. A person who calls themselves stupid after every mistake may eventually avoid challenging situations because mistakes feel unbearable. Honest language is stronger. Say what went wrong. Accept responsibility where necessary. Identify the correction, then move forward. Bad days can also teach patience. Some problems cannot be fixed immediately. You may need time to rebuild trust, recover financially, develop a skill, or repair a mistake. The lesson is sometimes not about taking faster action. It is about taking the right action consistently while accepting that results may take time. Do not demand an immediate positive result from every difficult experience. Sometimes the first benefit is simply better understanding. You may not feel better that night. You may still be disappointed the next morning. But if you understand what caused the problem and what you will do differently, the experience has already produced something useful. Your future decisions are shaped by what you remember and how you interpret those memories. If every mistake becomes proof that you cannot succeed, you will avoid opportunities. If every mistake becomes information about what needs improvement, you become more willing to learn. The event may be the same, but the lesson you take from it can lead your behavior in a completely different direction. So after a difficult day, do not rush to label yourself. Study the event, identify the facts, find the cause, separate what you controlled from what you could not control. Notice what worked, identify what needs improvement, choose one behavior to change, then return to normal life and apply the lesson. The value of a difficult day is not measured by how painful it felt. It is measured partly by what you learn from it and what you do differently afterward. A mistake that produces better behavior can become useful education. A disappointment that improves your judgment can protect you from a larger problem later. A difficult conversation can teach you how to communicate with more care. You will have more bad days. Nobody develops a life without setbacks, mistakes, misunderstandings, delays, and disappointing results. The goal is not to make every day pleasant. The goal is to become better at using difficult experiences. Let yesterday give you information without controlling today. Study what happened, keep the useful lesson, change the behavior that needs changing, and continue with a clearer understanding of yourself and the life you are trying to build. Chapter 8. Trust yourself when nobody supports you. Self-trust becomes most important when other people do not understand your direction. Approval feels good, but approval cannot be the foundation of every important decision. There will be times when people question your plans, doubt your ability, misunderstand your priorities, or simply refuse to support what you are trying to build. You need to learn the difference between trusting yourself and believing that you are always right. These are not the same thing. Self-trust does not mean ignoring advice. It means developing enough judgment to listen carefully, examine evidence, and make your own responsible choice. A person who cannot accept feedback is not necessarily confident. A person who can hear criticism without immediately abandoning their direction has stronger internal judgment. Many people depend heavily on outside approval because it gives them emotional safety. They ask several people what they should do before making a decision. They change their plans after one negative comment. They stop working toward a goal because someone laughs at it. They wait for family members, friends, co-workers, or strangers to confirm that their choice is acceptable. This creates a problem because different people have different experiences, values, fears, and priorities. The advice that makes sense for one person may be completely wrong for another. Start by becoming clear about your own reasons. Do not tell yourself that you want success simply because other people admire successful people. Define what success means in your actual life. Maybe you want more control over your time. Maybe you want to become highly skilled in a particular field. Maybe you want financial stability. Maybe you want to build something useful. Maybe you want to become more disciplined and dependable. A clear reason makes outside opinions easier to evaluate. Suppose you decide to learn a new skill that could improve your career. Someone tells you that it is a waste of time. Before changing your plan, examine the comment. Does the person understand the industry? Do they know your goals? Do they have relevant experience? Are they giving specific reasons or simply expressing an opinion? Useful feedback contains information you can examine. A casual negative opinion may contain nothing you need. This does not mean dismissing people who disagree with you. Sometimes the person who questions your plan sees a problem you missed. That is why mature self-trust requires curiosity. Instead of becoming defensive, ask what they see that you may not have considered. Listen carefully. Then investigate the point yourself. You become more confident in your decisions when your choices are supported by evidence. Keep records of your progress. Track your practice. Save your work. Measure results. Write down what you are learning. When someone questions your ability, you do not need to argue for hours. Your own evidence can tell you whether you are improving. This is especially important during long periods where results are not obvious. A person learning a difficult skill may feel like they are making no progress. Without records, they may forget how much they have improved. Keep examples of earlier work. Compare it with recent work. Notice changes in speed, quality, understanding, and consistency. Evidence can strengthen your confidence without requiring constant praise from others. There is also a difference between being alone and being unsupported. You may not receive encouragement from the people closest to you, but that does not mean you have to isolate yourself. Find people who understand the area you are trying to improve. A teacher, experienced professional, coach, serious colleague, or useful community can provide informed feedback. You do not need everyone to support you. You need access to good information. Be selective about whose advice you trust. Experience matters. Character matters. Results matter. Someone who has successfully handled the type of problem you are facing may offer more useful guidance than someone who simply has a strong opinion. Before accepting advice, consider the source. Self-trust also grows from keeping promises to yourself. This is one of the most practical ways to build it. Choose a few commitments that are realistic and important. If you decide to study for 30 minutes, do it. If you decide to finish a task before entertainment, follow through. If you decide to exercise 3 times a week, keep the schedule. Every kept promise gives you evidence that your words and actions can match. Do not make huge promises that you cannot maintain. Saying you will completely change your life tomorrow may feel powerful, but failing to follow through can weaken your confidence. Start with commitments that are challenging but realistic. Your goal is to build reliability with yourself. You should also stop measuring your progress only through other people's reactions. Some people will notice your improvement, others will not. Some will congratulate you. Others may remain indifferent. Their response does not determine the value of your work. A student can become more skilled without receiving praise. An employee can become more capable without being promoted immediately. A person can improve their communication without anyone announcing the change. Growth often happens before recognition. If you need constant external confirmation, you may quit before the results become visible. There will be moments when people you care about disagree with your choices. These situations require emotional maturity. You can respect someone while choosing differently from them. You can listen to a parent's concern without automatically following it. You can value a friend's opinion without giving them control over your future. Respect does not require complete agreement. Communicate your decisions calmly. Explain what you are trying to do, why it matters to you, and how you are managing the risks. Then, accept that the other person may still disagree. Your responsibility is not to force everyone to understand. Your responsibility is to make thoughtful choices and accept their consequences. This becomes especially important when you choose a path that is less familiar to people around you. New careers, new businesses, creative work, education, and lifestyle changes can create uncertainty. People often respond to uncertainty by pointing out everything that could go wrong. Some of their concerns may be useful, others may simply reflect what they would be afraid to do. Learn to ask whether someone is describing your situation or describing their own fear. A person who never took a particular opportunity may strongly believe that it is impossible. Their belief may be sincere, but sincerity does not make it accurate. Examine the facts for yourself. Self-trust also requires accepting responsibility. If you make your own decisions, you cannot blame everyone else when the result is disappointing. This is actually one of the strongest parts of self-trust. You stop looking for someone else to carry the responsibility for your choices. You review the result, learn from it, and decide what to change. That responsibility can feel uncomfortable, but it gives you control. If the decision was yours, you can improve your decision-making. If the result teaches you something, you can use that information. You are no longer waiting for someone else to rescue you from every mistake. Do not confuse independence with refusing help. Strong people ask for help when they need information, skill, or perspective. The difference is that they do not surrender their judgment to the person helping them. You can ask an expert how something works while still deciding whether it fits your situation. Create a simple personal decision record for important choices. Write down the decision, the reasons behind it, the information you considered, and the risks you identified. Review the result later. This practice teaches you how your judgment works. Over time, you will see which types of decisions you handle well and which areas need more attention. You can also use this method to challenge self-doubt. When your mind says you cannot do something, ask for evidence. What specific skill is missing? What would need to improve? What small action could test your ability? Instead of arguing with the thought emotionally, investigate it. Maybe you are not ready yet. That is useful information. It tells you what to learn. Maybe you are more capable than you believed. That is useful information too. Either way, the next step becomes clearer. Your confidence should come from demonstrated behavior rather than imagination. You do not need to tell yourself that you can do anything. You need to know what you can do, what you are learning, and what you still need to improve. There will be days when nobody notices your effort. There will be periods when people question your direction. There may even be moments when you question yourself. During those times, return to your reasons, your evidence, your commitments, and your actual progress. Do not make major changes simply because someone did not approve. Do not continue blindly simply because you want to prove someone wrong. Both choices give other people too much influence over you. Make decisions because they are sensible for your goals and circumstances. The strongest form of self-trust is quiet and practical. You do the work. You study the results. You accept useful correction. You admit mistakes. You keep promises to yourself. You ask for help when needed. You make decisions based on evidence. You accept responsibility for what follows. Support from others can make the journey easier, but your progress cannot depend entirely on applause. There will be important parts of your life where you have to take responsibility before anyone else understands what you are trying to accomplish. Keep building your skills, keep checking your reasons, keep learning from qualified people, keep your promises to yourself. Let your actions provide evidence for the person you are becoming. You do not need everyone to believe in your direction before you take the next responsible step. You need enough clarity to know why you are moving, enough discipline to keep working, and enough humility to change course when better evidence appears. That combination allows you to trust yourself without becoming careless or closed to learning. Chapter 9. Handle unexpected problems without losing control. Unexpected problems test the quality of your preparation more than the quality of your plans. A carefully organized day can change within minutes because of a missed payment, a broken device, a sudden work request, a family problem, a cancelled appointment, or information you did not expect. You cannot prevent every disruption, but you can build habits that help you respond without making the situation worse. The first mistake people make during an unexpected problem is treating the surprise itself as the emergency. Something changes, and the mind immediately starts producing fear, anger, and urgency. You may feel that everything must be fixed at once. Usually, it does not. The first useful action is to understand exactly what changed. Take a simple example. Your laptop stops working before an important deadline. The problem is not that your entire career has collapsed. The immediate problem is that you cannot access the work through your usual device. That difference matters. Once you describe the problem accurately, you can look for alternatives. You may use another computer, contact technical support, recover the files from cloud storage, or notify the relevant person about the delay. A calm response begins by reducing the size of the problem to its actual facts. During an unexpected event, use 3 mental steps. Identify what happened. Identify what is affected. Identify what can still be done. This prevents your attention from spreading across every possible negative outcome. You may not be able to solve the entire situation immediately, but you can usually identify one action that improves your position. Another useful skill is separating damage from inconvenience. Not every disruption is a serious threat. A delayed appointment may be frustrating, but it may not require an emotional response. A missed bus may create a scheduling problem, but it does not need to become a personal crisis. Your reaction should match the actual consequence. This is harder than it sounds because the human mind often reacts to uncertainty before it understands the outcome. You may hear that something has gone wrong and immediately imagine the worst result. Stop the prediction and gather information. What exactly happened? What do you know for certain? What remains unknown? Who has the information you need? These questions bring your attention back to reality. You also need a backup habit. People often prepare for their main plan, but spend little time considering what happens if the plan fails. A strong routine includes simple alternatives. Keep copies of important documents. Store essential contact information somewhere accessible. Maintain a small emergency fund when possible. Have alternative ways to reach important files. Keep basic supplies available for predictable disruptions. The purpose is not to expect disaster. The purpose is to reduce the damage caused by ordinary problems. Backup planning can also apply to your schedule. If every important task is planned with no extra time, one delay can destroy the entire day. Leave reasonable space between demanding commitments. Avoid placing important deadlines directly after another important responsibility when you have control over the schedule. A little flexibility can prevent one unexpected event from affecting everything that follows. There is also a psychological benefit to preparation. Knowing that you have alternatives reduces the feeling of helplessness. You may still have a problem, but you know where to begin. Preparation does not remove uncertainty. It gives you more choices during uncertainty. Another important lesson is to avoid making unnecessary decisions during the first emotional reaction. A problem appears, and you may immediately want to blame someone, cancel everything, spend money, send angry messages, or make a major change. Give yourself enough time to understand the situation before taking actions that create new consequences. Consider a workplace problem where an important project suddenly loses a team member. The first reaction may be frustration. You might think the project cannot be completed. Instead of stopping there, list the remaining work. Identify what only that person could do. Identify what can be reassigned. Identify what can be delayed. Identify what can be simplified. Then communicate the actual situation to the relevant people. This approach turns a personal feeling of crisis into a management problem. Unexpected problems also require communication. Silence can make a small issue become much larger. If you know that a deadline may be affected, communicate early rather than waiting until the last possible moment. Give the facts. Explain the effect. State what you are doing about it. If you need help, ask clearly. People can often respond better to a difficult situation when they receive accurate information early. Do not use communication as a place to release frustration. The person receiving the message may not be responsible for the problem. Keep your words focused on what happened and what needs to happen next. This protects your relationships while improving the chance of getting useful support. You should also learn to distinguish solvable problems from uncontrollable events. Some problems can be fixed through action. Others can only be managed. A cancelled event may not be recoverable. A lost opportunity may already be gone. A person's decision may be outside your control. In those situations, continuing to argue with reality wastes energy. Ask what remains possible. This does not mean pretending that disappointment does not matter. You can be upset and still move forward. A mature response allows the emotion to exist while continuing to handle the practical responsibility. One of the most useful habits during unexpected problems is creating a short priority list. Write down everything that needs attention, then mark what is urgent and what has serious consequences. Do not treat every task as equally important. Complete the issue that protects the most important result first. For example, If your car breaks down on a day with several appointments, your first task may be finding transportation for the appointment that cannot be moved. You do not need to solve every scheduling issue simultaneously. Handle the highest consequence problem first, then move to the next. This method becomes especially important during financial problems. An unexpected expense can create panic because money affects many parts of life. Instead of avoiding the numbers, write them down. Identify the amount available. List the required expenses. Separate essential payments from optional spending. Contact the relevant provider if a payment arrangement is possible. Look for temporary reductions in unnecessary costs. A financial problem becomes easier to manage when the numbers are visible. Avoid making decisions based on shame. People sometimes hide problems because they are embarrassed. They ignore unpaid bills, avoid opening messages, or refuse to ask for help. This can make the situation worse. Looking directly at a problem does not create the problem. It gives you information that can help you manage it. Unexpected problems can also reveal weaknesses in your systems. If one missed appointment causes an entire week to collapse, your schedule may have too little flexibility. If losing one file causes hours of work to disappear, your backup system needs improvement. If one unexpected expense creates severe financial pressure, your financial planning may need attention. Do not only solve the current problem. Ask what the problem is teaching you about your system. After the situation is under control, conduct a short review. What happened? What caused the disruption? What response helped? What response made things worse? What could have been prepared earlier? What backup would have reduced the damage? Then make one improvement. This is how unexpected problems become useful information for future planning. You should also become comfortable with changing plans without treating the change as personal failure. A plan is a tool. It is not a promise that reality must obey. New information may require a new schedule, a different route, a different budget, or a different method. Adjusting does not mean you lacked discipline. Sometimes adjustment is the disciplined response. There is a difference between flexibility and inconsistency. Flexibility means changing the method because circumstances changed while keeping your important responsibility in view. Inconsistency means abandoning the responsibility whenever something becomes inconvenient. Learn to adjust the route without abandoning the destination. Your emotional state matters during disruption, but your behavior matters more. You may feel frustrated, you may feel helpless for a few minutes. You may wish the problem had never happened. None of those feelings need to determine the next action. Take care of the emotion while handling the responsibility. A simple breathing pattern can help during intense moments. Breathe slowly and give your body a short opportunity to settle. Then speak more slowly than your emotional impulse wants you to speak. This is not a complicated technique. It simply creates a small physical pause before action. You can also prepare a personal emergency checklist for common problems in your life. Include important contacts, essential documents, backup methods, financial information, and the first actions to take during predictable disruptions. Keep it simple enough to use under stress. The best emergency plan is one you can understand quickly when your attention is limited. You will never control every event that enters your life. You can control how prepared you are, how accurately you describe the problem, how quickly you gather information, how carefully you communicate, and how deliberately you choose the next step. The unexpected will always exist. A strong mind does not require perfect conditions before it can function well. It learns to work with the conditions that are actually present. The next time your plan breaks, do not waste the first few minutes asking why this had to happen. Look at what changed. Protect what matters most. Find the available options. Communicate clearly. Take the first useful action, then adjust your plan based on what you learn. A problem that arrives without warning does not have to control the rest of your day. Your ability to respond with structure, patience, and practical action gives you a way to stay effective even after circumstances change. Chapter 10. Train yourself to become stronger every day. Becoming stronger is not one dramatic decision. It is the result of how you use ordinary days. Your habits, choices, reactions, and standards gradually shape the person you become. Real personal growth comes from practicing useful behaviors often enough that they become part of your normal life. A stronger person is not someone who never feels tired, afraid, disappointed, or uncertain. Strength is the ability to keep making responsible choices while those feelings exist. It means learning to manage your time, improve your skills, control unnecessary reactions, take responsibility for mistakes, and continue developing even after you have reached a level that feels comfortable. Start by understanding that daily improvement needs a clear direction. You cannot improve everything at once. Choose a few areas that have a meaningful effect on your life. Your health, work, finances, relationships, knowledge, and personal discipline may all matter, but trying to transform every area simultaneously can create confusion. Select one or two behaviors that deserve your strongest attention right now. Make the behavior measurable. Become more disciplined is too broad. Start work at 8 every morning is specific. Improve my communication is vague. Listen without interrupting during important conversations is measurable. Clear behavior gives you something you can practice and review. This is where many personal improvement plans fail. People create impressive goals, but weak daily actions. They say they want to become successful, confident, focused, or organized, but they do not define what those qualities look like during an ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Strength develops through specific behavior, not through labels. Choose a daily standard that is challenging but realistic. You might read 10 pages, study for 40 minutes, exercise for 30 minutes, review your finances for 10 minutes, or spend 15 minutes improving a professional skill. The activity should connect directly to something important in your life. Then perform it consistently enough to create evidence that you can rely on yourself. Do not make the standard so extreme that missing one day destroys the entire routine. A useful system should survive ordinary life. You will have busy days, unexpected problems, low energy, and changing responsibilities. Build flexibility into the routine without allowing flexibility to become an excuse. One practical method is to have a normal target and a minimum target. Your normal target might be 1 hour of study. Your minimum target might be 15 minutes. On a good day, complete the normal amount. On a difficult day, protect the minimum. This allows the habit to continue without demanding identical performance every day. Your daily review is equally important. Spend a few minutes at night checking what you actually did. Do not review your intentions. Review your behavior. Did you complete the important task? Did you waste time that you had planned to protect? Did you keep a promise to yourself? Did you react poorly in a situation? Did you learn something useful? This process creates awareness. Awareness allows correction. You should also make learning part of your daily life. Stronger people do not simply work harder. They improve the way they work. Read useful material. Study people who have experience in areas you want to develop. Take notes. Practice skills. Ask specific questions. Review mistakes. Use what you learn instead of collecting information that never changes your behavior. Information becomes valuable when it changes what you do. For example, learning about better communication has limited value if you continue interrupting people during difficult conversations. Studying financial management does little if you never track your spending. Reading about productivity does not improve your work unless you change how you use your time. Choose one idea and apply it before moving to the next. Your environment should support your development. If your phone is always beside you, distraction becomes easy. If your study materials are difficult to access, starting becomes harder. If unhealthy food is always available, changing your eating habits becomes more difficult. You do not need perfect self-control when you can design your surroundings to reduce unnecessary temptation. Look at the behaviors you want to strengthen and make them easier to begin. Prepare your workspace the night before. Keep your exercise clothes ready. Put important documents in one place. Schedule learning time on your calendar. Remove unnecessary notifications. Small changes in your environment can reduce the number of decisions required to follow your plan. You should also strengthen your ability to do important things before comfortable things. This does not mean eliminating rest or enjoyment. It means deciding that your most important responsibility deserves attention before low-value distractions consume your available energy. If you need to complete an important report, do not spend the first hour scrolling through entertainment. If you need to study, do not begin with activities that make concentration harder. Complete the meaningful task first when possible. Then enjoy your free time without the pressure of knowing that something important remains unfinished. Another part of becoming stronger is learning to tolerate boredom. Not every useful activity will be exciting. Repetition is part of skill development. A musician practices scales. An athlete repeats basic movements. A student reviews difficult material. A professional studies the same area many times before reaching a high level. Boredom does not always mean that something is wrong. Sometimes it means the activity has become familiar. Learn to continue useful work even after the initial excitement has disappeared. Your standards also matter. Ask what you are willing to accept from yourself. Do you arrive late regularly? Do you leave important work unfinished? Do you speak harshly when stressed? Do you spend money without checking your budget? Do you make promises and then ignore them? These patterns may seem small individually, but repeated behavior becomes a major part of your life. Choose one standard to raise at a time. Maybe you decide that you will stop making excuses for missed responsibilities. Instead of explaining why something happened, you identify what you can do to correct it. Maybe you decide that you will not send angry messages. Maybe you decide that you will complete important work before entertainment. Maybe you decide that you will keep your workspace organized at the end of every day. A stronger life often begins with a few stronger standards. Do not expect other people to provide the discipline you need. A manager may create deadlines. A teacher may assign work. A coach may give instructions. But your long-term development depends on what you do when nobody is watching. Private behavior is important because it shows whether your standards depend on external pressure. Keep promises that nobody else knows about. Finish the task you told yourself you would complete. Put the phone away when you decided to study. Save the money you planned to save. Go for the walk, even though nobody will know whether you went. These actions build internal reliability. You should also learn to recover quickly after mistakes. A strong daily routine does not require perfection. Missing one workout does not require abandoning the routine. Wasting an afternoon does not mean the entire week is lost. Losing your temper does not mean you cannot improve your communication. Correct the behavior as soon as possible. The faster you return to useful action, the less damage one mistake creates. Review your progress every month. Look for evidence rather than emotion. Are you completing more tasks? Are you learning faster? Are your reactions becoming more controlled? Are you managing money more carefully? Are you communicating better? Are you more consistent with your responsibilities? Compare your current behavior with your previous behavior. You may discover that some goals need adjustment. That is part of growth. A routine that worked 6 months ago may no longer fit your schedule. A skill you once needed may now be less important. A new responsibility may require different priorities. Personal development is not about following one rigid plan forever. It is about continuing to improve your ability to make good decisions. Your physical health also deserves attention because your daily energy affects your ability to perform. Regular movement, adequate sleep, balanced meals, and reasonable recovery support your mental performance. You do not need extreme routines. You need habits that you can maintain. The goal is to give your body enough support to handle the responsibilities you place on it. Relationships should also be included in your development. Becoming stronger does not mean becoming harder toward people. It means becoming more reliable, honest, patient, and responsible. Listen carefully. Keep your promises. Admit mistakes. Communicate directly. Set boundaries respectfully. Give people your attention when the conversation matters. A person can become professionally successful while becoming personally difficult to live with. That is not complete growth. Improvement should make you more capable without making you careless about the people around you. Each morning, choose the behavior that deserves your best attention. During the day, protect time for it. At night, review whether you followed through. Then, adjust the next day based on what you learned. This simple cycle can create substantial change over time because it connects intention, action, measurement, and correction. Do not underestimate ordinary progress. Reading a few pages today may not transform your knowledge immediately. One workout may not change your fitness. One careful financial decision may not change your situation. One calm conversation may not repair every relationship. But repeated actions create patterns, and patterns eventually produce noticeable differences. Your goal is not to become perfect. Your goal is to become more capable, more disciplined, more thoughtful, and more dependable than you were before. Some days you will perform well, other days you will fall below your standard. Treat both days as information. Good performance shows what works. Poor performance shows what needs adjustment. Keep learning from both. Make improvement part of your normal schedule rather than something you attempt only after a major problem. Study before you desperately need the skill. Save before the emergency appears. Practice communication before the difficult conversation arrives. Build discipline before pressure demands it. Preparation makes future challenges easier to handle. Your mind becomes stronger through use. Your judgment improves through experience. Your confidence grows through evidence. Your discipline develops through repeated action. Your character becomes clearer through the standards you maintain when nobody is forcing you to maintain them. Build your day around actions that make your future easier rather than choices that only make the present more comfortable. Keep your commitments realistic. Raise your standards gradually. Learn from mistakes without becoming trapped by them. Protect your attention. Improve one meaningful behavior at a time. Tomorrow will give you another ordinary day, and that is enough. You do not need perfect circumstances to become better. You need a clear action, a reasonable standard, and the willingness to repeat useful behavior until it becomes part of who you are. Your mind will be tested again. Another difficult conversation will come. Another unexpected problem will appear. There will be days when fear feels stronger than confidence, when progress feels slow, and when quitting seems easier than continuing. But now you know something important. You do not have to control every situation to control your response. Train your mind to pause before reacting. Train it to look for facts before making decisions. Train it to continue when temporary discomfort tells you to stop. Train it to learn from mistakes instead of carrying them into the next day. Train it to stay calm when circumstances change. Do not expect yourself to change overnight. Practice these lessons in ordinary moments. The way you handle a small problem today prepares you for a larger problem tomorrow. And remember this: winning is not always getting the result you wanted. Sometimes winning means becoming the person who can handle whatever happens next. Keep learning, keep improving, keep training your mind. Come back whenever you need a reminder that your response still matters. Until the next audiobook, keep your mind clear, your actions disciplined, and your standards high.